Hi, everybody. Hey, Leanne. Who am I saying? Oh, great. Wonderful to see you, Sunanda.
Hi.
Sarah.
It's Sarah Dorsey.
Yeah, I see Sarah. And there's Kali Dasi, and there's Zoe. No, that's
There's
not
Devi Prana. Hi.
Devi Prana, Queen of the Wild Frontier. How's everybody doing?
Good.
How's the smoke in Portland?
It is wonderful. It's gone and we have rain today. Lots
Oh,
of rain.
wow.
So
Fantastic.
good. Thanks for asking. How's it down there?
We actually have had blue skies for about 5-6 days.
Oh, wow. Okay. Good.
Whoa, sky. Great. Sunanda, what's it like down there? Are you okay down there?
Where?
Irvine?
Yeah,
Oh, in Irvine. What's it like down in Irvine?
it's fine. I don't notice any smoke.
Okay.
Okay. I know that Swami Arupeshananda and his mom Sita have been under evacuation warnings
Really?
at our Pinyon Hills retreat because it's in the high desert where the bobcat fire is extending himself. So he sent photos to Krishna, but I couldn't see them of the flames from the view of the Pinyon Hills ashram.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So, but I mean, that's been like 5 days and 4 or 5 days and nothing, and it hasn't happened yet. So, but there are, that's what happens with fires. All right. Well, glad to see you all. So we're going to go right to Udboden. That's Stephen. Udboden, 15th of April, 1911. Can you all hear that? Yeah. Okay.
What page?
That is page 106. The next day, Mother was preparing betel rolls in the room to the south of the shrine. It was nearly 11 a.m. When I went to her, she inquired about the boy who had come on the previous day. Has he left? Disciple: yes, he may stay a day or two at the house of Dr. Kanjilal. Sharat Maharaj said, if the boy has left with pride and egoism, then he will degenerate more and more as days pass. And if he is left out of shame, then if the master wills, he may turn over a new leaf. Mother: what does it matter? He is after all a boy, not a girl. It is easy to break, but how many can build? All can criticize and make fun of him. But how many can bring him to the right path? People are prone to weakness. I think this is really an important sentence because it's so easy for any of us to kind of pile on and to see the obvious wrongs of people and to judge them from their worst moments in life. But Holy Mother never saw people that way. She always saw them from their potential, and she saw their divinity first, and then she saw the external later. So, I mean, if we were going to take one good lesson from Holy Mother, it's like, it's easy to break, but who can build? And then I remember Swami Prabhavananda used to say that Boshi Sen, who was very close to Swamiji and who nourished Swamiji at the end, used to say to look up the definition of positive in the English dictionary and then look up negative. And so he looked them up and then he read them out to Boshi Sen. And then Boshi said, Abani, that was Swami Prabhavananda's name, be positive, be positive, be positive. It's so easy to be negative, but it hurts us and it hurts the other person too, because it drills into them this negative message, and it's very easy to sort of incorporate it into one's being. And if one develops a sense of guilt or a sense of, I'm not as good as other people, then it's very hard to really build on your spiritual life. You have to have sort of this healthy sense of who you are. Swami Prabhavananda also said that when he came to the West, his biggest problem was the Western sense of guilt. He said that really gets in the way of spiritual life. So you can see that Holy Mother's attitude is say, but who can build? Easy to break, who can build? And he's after all just a boy. She said, he may again turn over a new leaf. So I think it's a really great message for all of us to remember, because we're always like, oh my God, can you believe what that person did? Can you believe what he said? Can you believe what she did? And then it's like, who does that help? It doesn't help us, doesn't help them. Right, Devi Prana? Yeah. Disciple. Sharat Maharaj said, that's Swami Sardananda. Sharat Maharaj said, it is possible only for a noble-hearted person to live alone, while one with an impure mind becomes all the more degenerated thereby. In other words, if you already have, if you live with a group of people, they'll pretty much tell you where you're going wrong, whether you want to hear it or not. And also, if you really are in trouble, they can say, whoa, you might not do that so much, it doesn't seem to be helping you. But if you're by yourself, you don't have those checks and balances. And Mother said, why should he fear? The master will protect him. That's Sri Ramakrishna. Are there not many monks who live all alone? Disciple. Even Hridoy Mukherjee lost the company of the master in his later days. Mother. Is it possible for anyone to enjoy a good thing eternally? Right. Disciple. He, it seems, had also troubled the master a lot and used very offensive language with him. Mother. When one has done so much dedicated service, what does it matter if he says a few unpleasant things? It is natural for one who really takes so much care to say sometimes things like that. That's important for us to remember too, because we tend to pile on Hridoy, who sort of would have, had he stayed at Dakshineshwar, the young men the boys really, somewhere between 14 and 20, 24, who would later become the first monastic disciples, wouldn't have been able to get through, because he was sort of like the guard at the door, and he impeded other people from getting access to Sri Ramakrishna. And then he was wonderful and took so much care of him, but then he became possessive of him and started speaking rudely to him. Sri Ramakrishna says in the gospel, at one point, he was almost just about ready to throw himself in the river and kill himself, because Hridoy was behaving so badly with him. But Holy Mother, as you can see, it's like, so what? So what? It's just a few words, She's just like, She's all like, remember what he did. Remember how much care he gave him. Disciple, this boy too served you very much, and now see what has happened. Mother, is it possible to get along without any discipline? How else can one improve? Now, we're going to Jairambati. In the month of Ashwin, on the day of the Mahasaptami, that'll be like next month. It's one of the days of Durga Puja, the 7th day of Durga Puja. The first day of the worship of Mother Durga, 2 young devotees presented themselves before the mother. On Mahashtami day, that's the 8th day, on the Mahashtami day, they offered lotus flowers at the feet of the mother. One of them said, Mother, please ordain me into the vows of sannyasa, final monastic vows. The other young boy too joined in the request. The mother smiled a little and said, all in due course, children. Why do you worry? The devotee persisted. Mother, you must give us sannyasa. Give us the ochre cloth. The mother now spoke a little seriously. What will you gain by putting on an ochre cloth? What is so special in it? Neither of you has entered married life. You are already sannyasins. All other things will follow in due course. The devotee said, Mother, I wish to throw away my sacred thread, cloth and all, and remained absorbed in the contemplation of the divine, like Trilunga Swami. The mother said, it will happen, child, when the right time comes. Now the devotee began to speak rather excitedly. Mother, here it is. I'm throwing away the cloth and the sacred thread, and actually was about to do so when the mother said rather hurriedly, enough of it now. At the proper time, These things will leave you by themselves. It's like the sacred thread is what Brahmins and I think the three highest castes, I know Kshatriyas wear it also, but especially Brahmins, you have to wear that sacred thread. When you're invested with the sacred thread, then that means that you have all the responsibilities and all the rights of being a Brahmin, which means you behave in a very serious, holy way. You recite the Gayatri mantra every day for at least 108 times. And it's actually a very strict, austere life. And if you follow it completely, you would totally be a saint. So mother's like, whoa. Still, his childish behavior did not stop. He said, "Bless me, mother, with at least a drop of madness that has come upon the master. Make me mad, mother." And again, "Mother, will you not endow us with devotion? Won't you bestow on us the vision of the master?" Mother said, "Everything will come to pass, my child, in due course." Both the boys went out of the room after prostrating themselves before the mother. At noon, all sat down for meals. The same young devotee again spoke. "Have you cooked this rice pudding?" That's the rice pash. "It is not at all tasting well." That's nice. Great kid. The mother smiled and said, "What can I do, child? Sufficient quantity of milk is not available here." They're out in Jairambati, which at that point was either a 3-day bullock ride or a week's walk. Kedar's mother was nearby. She said, "Very good. You are all mother's children. Bring plenty of things, then the mother will be able to feed you to your heart's content." This did not even reach the devotee's ears. He went on, "Mother, today I could not eat my fill. I will come again and eat to my satisfaction. You must also allow me to meet you one day at the Udbodhan." The mother agreed to the request. In the forenoon, what a pain these people are. Jeez. In the forenoon, a devotee had arrived from Shillong. That's now in Bangladesh, way up in the north. Doubtful about the divine nature of the mother, he had taken a vow that he would not visit her unless he had seen her in a dream 7 times. He had the requisite visions. Therefore, he gone to Jairambati to pay his respects to her. In the afternoon, God, these people are a pain. I can't believe it. In the afternoon, he was about to take leave of her. He said, "Mother, I shall say goodbye now. Do I need anything else?" Mother, "Yes, surely. You must have your initiation." Devotee, "I may have it in Bagh Bazar in Calcutta." Mother, "Better finish that task, my child. Have your initiation today." Devotee, because remember, she can see his future. She also knows her own future. So it's like she's seeing something. He's assuming that everything's going to be hunky-dory, but maybe not so much. After the devotee, "But I've eaten the prasad." In other words, before you're initiated, you can't eat anything. You're supposed to, go in there with it freshly bathed, not having eaten anything. Mother, "That doesn't matter." After the initiation, the devotee departed. The mental state of the eccentric devotee who had come in the morning took a turn for the worse after he returned home from Jairambati. He became restless for the vision of the master and felt piqued to think that though the Holy Mother could, by her mere will, make him get a vision of Sri Ramakrishna, she refused to do so. In a very angry state of mind, he came back to Jairambati and said to her, "Mother, won't you enable me to see the master?" The mother said tenderly, "Yes, you will see him. Don't be so restless." He could not stand it anymore. He said in an angry voice, "You are only deceiving me. Here is the rosary you gave me. Take it back. I don't care for it anymore." With these words, he threw the rosary at her. "All right," said the mother. "Remain forever the child of Sri Ramakrishna." He left the place at once. Afterwards, the devotee really went mad. He began writing abusive letters to the Swamis of the Ramakrishna mission, did not even spare the Holy Mother in this respect. One day, referring to this devotee, I asked the Holy Mother, "Did he also return the mantra? He threw away his rosary. Can one ever return the mantra?" Mother, Is it ever possible? The word of the mantra is living. Can anyone who has received it give it back? Can he, once having felt attraction for the guru, get rid of it? Someday in the future, this man will come around and fall at the feet of those whom he now abuses. See, she can see the future. Devotee, why does such a thing come to pass? Mother, such things do happen. One guru may initiate many disciples, but have they all of the same nature? Remember, Sri Ramakrishna was very, very picky. And so were the disciples of Sri Ramakrishna. Swami Premananda said, only Holy Mother, has the power to absorb the poison that we ourselves could not digest. And that she took those who nobody would dream of initiating. She knew exactly what she was dealing with, but she willingly took it on. Spiritual life, she said, manifests in a devotee according to his nature. He said to me at Jairambati, Mother, make me mad. Why, said I. Why should you be mad, my child? Can anyone without committing much sin ever be mad? He said, my younger brother has seen the master. Please let me also have a vision of him. I said in reply, who can ever see him with the physical eyes? But one may do so by closing one's eyes. Can we not visualize the picture by closing the eyes? Your brother is a child. He may have visualized the master with his eyes closed, but he thinks he's seen him with his eyes open. I asked him to continue his spiritual life, to practice spiritual disciplines and pray to the master, and told him that he also would have the vision. Man knows in his own mind how far he's advanced and how much knowledge and consciousness of God he's attained. He knows in his innermost soul how much of God he has realized. Besides, who has been able to see God with his physical eyes? This devotee, after having been scolded at the Ubodan office, used to live on the bank of the Ganges. Sometimes he would sit at the doorstep of the Ubodan office and would take his meal there. After some time, he was brought once to the Holy Mother with her permission. She tried to pacify him in various ways and said, the master used to say, at the time of death, I shall have to stand by those who pray to me. Those are words from his very mouth. You are my child. What should you be afraid of? Why should you behave like a madman? That will disgrace the master. People will say that his devotee has become mad. Should you conduct yourself in a way that will discredit the name of the master? Go home and live as others do. Eat and live like them. At the time of your death, he will reveal himself to you and take you to him. Can you tell me if anyone ever got the vision of him with physical eyes? It was only Narayan, Swami Vivekananda, who saw him thus. That happened in America when he had intense yearning for him. Narayan then used to feel that the master was grasping his arm. That vision also lasted for only a few days. Now go home and live there happily. How miserable are the worldly people. The other day, Ram's son passed away. You can at least sleep with an easy heart. The devotee was much pacified by the Holy Mother's consolation and words of instruction. He took his meal at the Ubodan office and later returned to his native village. He gradually regained his normal state of mind. Well, that was Holy Mother's grace. Okay, sorry, page turn. Jairambati, 26th of May, 1911. The Holy Mother returned to Calcutta from her pilgrimage to Rameshwaram. That's on the very, very tip of India at the south. So that is one long trip she took. And after a few days, went back to Jairambati. One evening, while seated on the porch of her old house, she asked me about a monastic devotee. Mother, what did he say? Disciple, he felt a yearning for you for 3 or 4 months. Mother, how strange. A sannyasin must sever all bondage of Maya. A golden chain is as good as a shackle, is as good a shackle as an iron one. A sannyasin must not entangle himself in any form of Maya. Why should he constantly say, oh, mother's love, I'm deprived of it? What ideas. I do not like men constantly hanging on me. At least he has the form of a man. I'm not talking of God. and I have to move about with women. Remember, in India at that time, and even now, it's this great separation between men and women. They just don't mix. They just don't mix. Period. Except for like the young kids in cities at workplace and in school. But apart from that, it's assumed that you're going to hang out with your girlfriends. The boys are going to hang out with the guys, and that continues. It's very, very separated. What to speak of at 1911, where it was extremely segregated, male and female. Okay. Disciple, will the sannyasins who profess the ideals of Vedanta attain to nirvana? Mother, surely. By cutting off the bonds of Maya, they will realize nirvana and merge themselves in God. This body is, no doubt, the outcome of desires. The body cannot live unless there is a trace of desire. All comes to an end when a person gets rid of desires completely. Children, i.e. devotees, come here, eat their meals, enjoy themselves, and then go away. Why should I be attached to them? One day, Hazra said to the master, why do you constantly long for Narendra and the other youngsters? They're quite happy by themselves, eating and drinking and playing. You had better fix your mind on God. Why should you be attached to them? At these words, the master took his mind away from the young disciples completely and merged it in the thought of God. Instantaneously, he entered into samadhi. His beard and hair stood straight on end like a kadamba flower. I don't know what a kadamba flower looks like, but it must be like, rah. Just imagine what kind of a man the master was. His body became hard like a wooden statue. Ramlal, who was attending on him, said repeatedly, please be your former self again. At last, the mind came down to the normal plane. It was only out of compassion for people that he kept his mind on a lower plane. At the time of death, Yogin, that's Swami Yogananda, wanted nirvana. Girish Babu said to him, look here, Yogin, don't accept nirvana. Don't think of the master as pervading the entire universe, the sun and the moon forming his eyes. Think of the master as he used to be to us, and thus thinking, go to him. Deities and angels, whoever they may be, are born again on this earth. They do not eat or talk in their subtle bodies. Hence, they cannot stay in those planes for long. Disciple, if they neither eat nor talk, then how do they spend their days? That's a good question. Mother, immersed in meditation, they remain where they are, like wooden images for ages. Like the images of the kings I saw at Rameshwara. They're standing dressed in royal robes. These are all stone and actually marble statues. When you go into the temples, there's all these grand kings, and they're either in sandstone or in marble, just completely still, obviously. When God needs them, he brings them down from their respective places. There are different heavenly planes, such as Janaloka, Satyaloka, and Dhruvaloka. The master said that he brought down Narendra, Swami Vivekananda, from the plane of the seven sages, Shapta Rishi. His words are verily, that's Ramakrishna's, are verily the words of the Veda. They can never be untrue. Disciple, must we also then live like images of wood and clay? Mother, oh no, you will serve the master. There are two classes of devotees. One class devotes itself to the service of God, as on this earth, and another group is immersed in meditation for ages, like the images. Disciple, well, mother, the master used to say that the Ishvara Kodis can come back to the relative plane of consciousness, even after the attainment of nirvana. Others cannot do so. What does that mean? Mother, the Ishvara Koti, that is the eternal companions of the Lord. For example, like Swami Brahmananda, Swami Vivekananda, Swami Yogananda, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. These were all eternally free Ishvara Koti, eternally free souls who come again and again when the incarnation comes. Balaram, Sri Ramakrishna said, had been in the company of Chaitanya, as had M. Both Sharad and Shashi, Swami Shivananda and Swami Ramakrishnananda, had been with Christ. Sardananda and Ramakrishnananda had been with Christ. Swami Shivananda had been Ananda with Buddha. So these are free souls who come again with the incarnation just for the good of humanity. Mother, the Ishvara Koti, even after the attainment of nirvana, can gather his mind from it and direct it to the ordinary plane of consciousness. Disciple, how can the mind that has merged itself in God be brought back again to the world? How can one ever separate a jar of water from the water of a lake if it's been poured into it? Mother, not all, it's a good question actually, not all can do so. Only the Paramahamsa can. A Hamsa, that's a swan, can separate the milk from the mixture of water and milk and drink only the milk. Disciple, can all get rid of desires? Mother, if they could, then this creation would come to an end. The creation is going on because all cannot be free of desires. People with desires take their births again and again. Disciple, suppose a person gives up the body standing in the waters of the Ganges. He has endless questions. Mother, freedom from birth is possible only when there is no trace of desire. Otherwise, nothing else is of any avail. If one does not get rid of desires, what will one gain even if this be one's last birth in this world? Disciple, Mother, infinite is this creation. Who can tell what is happening in a remote plane? Who can say if any living beings inhabit any of these innumerable stars and planets? Mother, it is possible only for God to be omniscient in this realm of Maya. Perhaps there is no living being in those planets and stars. Who knows? Now we have a little shift. One day in the rainy season of the same year, 1911, Swami Sardananda, Yoginma, Golapma, and several other devotees went to Kumarbakur from Jarambati. Yoginma slipped on the road. Now, Yoginma and Golapma were both companions of Holy Mother. They lived with her at Udbodhan and were with her until her very death. Swami Asheshananda lived with both of them, and he said everybody was afraid of Golapma. Yoginma was a great yogini, and Golapma was a great devotee, but they were terrified of Golapma. She could be really harsh in her language. Yoginma slipped on the road. Some parts of her body were injured and blood flowed. I returned to Jairambati ahead of the party and told the Holy Mother about Yoginma's accident. The mother said sadly, Golap said before they set out, Yogini is going with us. Let us see how often she slips on the road. Yogin fell down to vindicate Golap's words. After all, these were the words of a spiritual woman. She, that's Golap, practices spiritual disciplines. Therefore, her words must bear fruit. Hence, a holy person must not say bad about anyone. That includes all of us here. We have to read, because all of us practice spiritual disciplines. We have to be careful what we say, because these words do take effect. It's kind of sobering, isn't it? Udbodhan, 16th of January, 1912. Okay, we're good. In the morning, I was with Holy Mother in her room. Again, the person who is giving this is Rashbahari Maharaj, Swami Arupananda, Swami Asheshananda's very dear friend. In the morning, I was with the Holy Mother in her room. I said to her, Mother, Sri Chaitanya one day blessed Narayani, saying, may you attain devotion to Krishna. The words had such a magic effect that the girl, only 3 or 4 years old, rolled on the ground uttering, Ah, Krishna, ah, Krishna. We have read a story about Narada. After he had realized God, one day he felt compassion for an ant. He said to himself, I have attained to perfection as the result of practicing austerities through many human births. And this poor ant will have to wait so long, even before it's born as a man. Tenderly, he blessed the ant, saying, be free. Immediately, the ant assumed such non-human forms as birds, beasts, and so forth, gradually took the body of a man, passed through many human births, enjoyed the experiences associated with them, and step by step directed his attention to spiritual disciplines. It worshiped God and attained salvation. Narada saw this in the twinkling of an eye. All these events of innumerable births. Therefore, one may get liberation instantaneously through the grace of a great soul. Mother, that is true. Disciple, but I've also heard that one cannot keep one's body long if one accepts the burden of sins from others. The body that might have been instrumental in getting salvation for many withers away for the sake of one sinful person. Sri Ramakrishna said that he got cancer and suffered so much because he took on the sins of Girish Ghosh. So he took on the bad karma of all sorts of us. Mother, that's also true. Further, a great soul thus loses its power. The power of austerities and spiritual disciplines that might have been utilized for the liberation of many souls is spent for the sake of one person. The master used to say, I have all these physical ailments because I've taken upon myself the sins of Girish. All right, see, there you go. But now Girish also is suffering. Disciple, Mother, one day I had a dream. I saw that a man with shaggy hair came to you and insisted that you must do something for him at once. He had previously been initiated by you, but he himself would not practice any spiritual discipline. You said, if I do something for him, then I shall not live. My body will fall off immediately. With all the earnestness I could command, I forbade you to show any kindness to this man and said, why should you do anything for him? He will achieve his own salvation. Let him practice sadhana. As he insisted again and again, you became disgusted with him, did something to him by touching his chest and neck, and said repeatedly, if I do something for him, then I shall not live. My body will fall off immediately. Then my dream disappeared. Well, is it true that one's power becomes limited when one is born in a physical body? Mother, yes, that is so. Many times disgusted with the repeated requests of some persons, I think, well, this body will die someday. Let it fall off this instant. Let me give him salvation. Disciple, Mother, does the vision of God mean the attainment of knowledge, jnana, and spiritual consciousness, chaitanya, or does it signify something else? Mother, what else can it mean except the attainment of these? Knowledge and spiritual consciousness. Does anyone mean to say that a man of realization grows two horns? Disciple, many of your devotees explain the vision of God differently. They believe that one sees God with physical eyes and talks to him. Mother, yes, they say, please show us the Father, but he, Sri Ramakrishna, is nobody's father. The three words, Guru, Master, that is Karta, and Father, Baba, pricked him like a thorn. How many sages practiced austerities for ages and ages? Still, they could not realize God. And now people will not practice disciplines or undergo austerities, but they must be shown God immediately. I can't do it. Can you tell me if Sri Ramakrishna has shown God to anyone? Disciple, well, Mother, we hear that some seek but do not get, while others do not seek but get. What does this mean? Mother, God has the nature of a child. Some beg, but he does not give them, while others do not want, but he asks them to accept. Perhaps the latter had many meritorious acts to their credit in their past births. Therefore, God's grace descends on them. Disciple, then is there discrimination even in the grace of God? Mother, yes, that's true. Everything depends upon karma, one's past actions. The moment one's karma comes to an end, one realizes God. That is one's last birth. Disciple, I admit that the sensation of actions, that's karma kyasha, spiritual disciplines, and time are the factors of attainment in spiritual knowledge and consciousness. But if God is our very own, then can't he reveal himself to his devotees by his mere will? Mother, that is right. But who has the faith that he is his own? All practice these or those disciplines because they think it is their duty to do so. But how many seek God? Disciple, once I said to you that the child does not recognize even its own mother if it is deprived of her care and love. Mother, yes, you have spoken truly. How can one love another unless one sees him? You see, you have seen me. I'm your mother and you are my child. I'm gonna read a short one. Udboden, 1st of February, 1912. It was about 9:30 in the evening when I went to Holy Mother. I had not seen her for the whole day. Mother, where have you been the whole day? It's her monastic attendance, so it's kind of important to know. Disciple, I've been busy with the accounts downstairs. Mother, yes, Prakash told me so. Can anyone who has renounced the world relish these things? Once there was a mistake in the accounts relating to the salary of the master. I asked him to talk to the manager of the temple about it, but he said, shame. Shall I bother myself about accounts? Once he said to me, he who utters the name of God never suffers from any misery. No need to speak about you. These are his very words. Renunciation was his ornament. Well, I'm tempted to go on. Okay, what do you think about 5 more minutes? Yes? Okay. Udboden, 8th of February, 1912. A mat used to be spread on the northern side of the room adjacent to the shrine. The mother used to sit there often in the mornings. Sometimes she would perform japa there facing the east. Whenever we came to talk with the mother, we too would sit there. Today, the mother was sitting on the mat. Disciple, Mother, how long did you stay at Dakshineshwar? Mother, for a long time. I came when I was 16. And the footnote here says actually 18. Her first visit to Dakshineshwar was in March of 1872. Since then, I was always there. Occasionally, I would visit our village home, that's Jairomati, as when I did to attend the village of Ramlaw. I would go there every 2 or 3 years. Disciple, were you alone at any time? Mother, yes, on some occasions. My mother-in-law, that's Sri Ramakrishna's mother, Chandramani, would be there at other times. Sometimes Golap, Gordasi, and others would stay with me. We cooked, lived, and ate all in that tiny room. By tiny room, we're talking 8 feet maybe in circumference, maybe 10, but I'm more tempted to say 8. I mean, when y'all go there, your jaw will drop. You won't believe how tiny it is. And she had all these women staying there. She cooked there. She had fish hung from the ceiling, pots and pans up there, cooking inside. It's unbelievable. I used to cook for the master. She said he had poor digestion, so he could not eat the food offerings from the Kali temple. I had to cook also for the devotees of the master, Latu, who later became a Swami Adbhutananda, lived with him. Having a difference with Ram Datta, he had come away. He was a servant, started out as a servant of Ramchandra Datta. The master said to me, he is a nice boy. He will need flour for you. Cooking went on day and night. For instance, Ram Datta would come and would shout after getting out of the carriage, today I shall have chapatis. That's like tortillas. And gram dal, that's kind of a, dal soup. Then I would at once start cooking. I used to make chapatis out of 3 or 4 seers of flour. That's a lot. When Ra called that Swami Brahmananda lived here, I often made khichdi for him. The master one day asked me to cook nicely for Naren. I prepared some mung dal and chapatis. When the meal was over, the master asked Naren, how did you enjoy the meal? Very well, he replied, but it tasted like a sick diet. At this, the master said to me, what sort of stuff have you cooked for him? You must prepare for him thick gram dal and heavy chapatis. Strong food. Finally, I prepared those things and Naren was very pleased. Soren Mitra gave 10 rupees a month for the expenses of the devotees. Gopal Senior, who became Swami Advaitananda, did all the marketing. Dancing, devotional music, ecstasy, and samadhi went on day and night. I made little holes in the harp in the bamboo mat screen so that I could watch through it. As the result of standing there continually, I got this rheumatism at last. There was an old woman who came often. She had led an impure life. Now in old age, she had become religious. I was alone, so whenever she came, I would talk to her. One day the master saw this and said, "Why do you allow her here?" I said, "Now she speaks only of good things, talks only of God. What is wrong with it?" One's mind cannot be colored always by one's former condition. The master said, no, she is a fallen woman. Why talk to her? However changed she may be, it is better to keep away. He used to forbid me from even speaking with such people, lest their evil influence may affect me. Such was the extreme care he took of me. Once a man came to meet the master at Kamarpur. He had a bad character. No sooner had he left than the master said, "Throw away a basket full of soil from this place." When no one heeded his words, he himself dug out with a spade some soil from the spot where the man was seated. Wherever such people sit, he said, even the soil of that place becomes impure. Durgacharan of East Bengal would visit him. What a great devotion he had for the master. He brought amalaki, which is a type of a fruit, at the time of the master's illness. Since it was not the proper season, he had it brought after a vigorous search for 3 full days with no thought of food or sleep. Once I gave him prasad on a leaf plate at the old Bagh Bazaar residence on the banks of the Ganges. Such was his devotion, he ate it leaf and all. It's like eating a magnolia leaf. He was dark and thin, but his eyes were large and sparkling. Eyes of a devotee, always moist with the tears of divine love. In those days, there were many such great devotees. Those who come nowadays simply keep on saying, "Give us the vision of the master." They do no spiritual practice, no japa, no meditation. Lord knows how many wicked things they've done in their past lives. Go hatya, the killing of a cow, Brahma hatya, slaying of a Brahman, Bhruna hatya, killing a child, an unborn child. First of all, the evil effects of these wicked acts have to be counteracted slowly and steadily. Suppose the moon is covered by clouds. Only when the wind gradually takes the clouds away will the moon become visible. Do the clouds vanish in the twinkling of an eye? Spiritual life also is like that. Karma is exhausted gradually. When one realizes God, he endows one with spiritual illumination within. One becomes aware of it oneself. And that's where we end the day. That was a mighty fine reading. Any questions, any comments, any raised eyebrows? All feel pretty happy with it?
What's really stood out was the difference in Ramakrishna's attitude toward not so good people and mothers. I mean, she accepted anything.
Yeah, she accepted anything. He was really careful. Also, probably, he realized that she had, at the very beginning, she had more sadhana to do before she was really ready. And he might not, at that point, she might not have been where he had offered all of his, where he offered all the results of all of his spiritual practice at her feet. So, no, that would have happened already. But he might have wanted her to wait longer so that she would have enough spiritual power to be able to digest that. But it's one example of all the love and care that he gave her, which we don't read enough about because women at that point were not literate. So we don't get the written reminiscences, but wonderfully, Saradesha Prana and Swami Satyamayana are working on a translation of Gorima's book on Holy Mother, which is in Bengali, has never been translated. And there are some astonishingly wonderful things in there. They give you a whole different vision of what Mother had and what she did. And for example, I didn't know this, nobody knew this who hasn't read the book in Bengali, that we read about Holy Mother standing and looking through the bamboo slats to see Sri Ramakrishna having the kirtan and the dancing. When the women got together in that little tiny space, they had their own kirtan. They sang, they danced, they did that in themselves, which we don't. So when that book is published, we'll get a much wider thing. And that's the real problem is until we really start looking at the reminiscences of the women devotees, we don't get that full of a picture of Holy Mother's greatness for her life or what she actually did. I mean, her spiritual power was just so tremendous. It's kind of jaw-dropping. So that's to look forward to. And because I asked her about it yesterday, and she said that Vedanta Press will publish it when it's completed. So I don't think it's going to be in the next year, but it's coming. It's coming down the pike.
Cool.
Oh, so it'll be fantastic. Okay, and if I hear any tidbits, I'll share. Okay, so we'll close with a chant. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.